Hello and welcome back to Mayday, a show about the show. I'm your host, Trevor May, 10-year big leaguer, zero-time All-Star. And I'm here to talk to you about baseball because the World Series, not the World Series, the Super Bowl is now over and the Seahawks are your world champions. Let's go Hawks! But that means that it's baseball season and only baseball season. I don't care if the NBA is still playing. Doesn't matter. We got teams reporting. I believe today is the middle day of the 3 report days. Most teams are the 10th, the 11th, or the 12th. I believe that's all of them. And we are getting a lot of news coming in and a lot of stories to talk about. And I am very excited to get into it. We are off to the races. This is the first non-off-season show of the year. I hope you're buzzing like I am buzzing. So it is great to see you. It is great to be here, and I'm gonna hop right into the show. Let's get right into it, all right? It is February 11th, 2026, and I'm feeling good. We're back. Spring training is upon us. The teams are in Arizona/Florida, depending on which one you like the most. Arizona. I hope a lot of you guys, maybe even some of you that are watching the show right now, are currently in those areas as well, where it is sunny, it is green, and it is not covered in ice and snow like the Northeast has been. Even though it's very beautiful here in the Northwest, it is still chilly. There's one thing that I am a little bit envious of, and it is possibly some warm air on my skin. We are going to start off today's show by getting into some of the stories, a primer, if you will, the 5 stories that I am very excited to follow along in 2026, but specifically here in spring training to see how these things start to lay out. There's some really interesting changes from teams to rules to new players coming over from Japan, all kinds of stuff. So these are the 5 stories that I think everyone should be paying attention to. And shout out to The Athletic. They just released a story, the 8 stories they are interested into. There was a lot of inspiration there. Not the exact same ones, but just want to give credit where credit is due. Amazing reporting as per usual. So starting with story number 1, new managers. Specifically, new managers that have never managed not only in professional baseball, or not only in the major leagues, but also in professional baseball. We have a handful of them. They are wide-ranging in experience, in age, in what I'm assuming is going to be philosophy. And I'm very excited to see how these things play out. So there's 4 main ones that I think are interesting, and I'm going to make a couple maybe predictions on what I think is going to happen as they get their hands on that little card day-to-day in spring training and what differences we can expect from them. Okay, first up, Blake Butera. He is a 33-year-old. He was hired by the Washington Nationals this offseason, and of the 4 guys we're about to talk about, he is the guy with the most managerial experience, as he has been a manager all through the minor leagues for the last few years. He is 33, like I mentioned. That is 3 years younger than me, which is crazy, which means he will be probably managing some guys that are older than him, okay? But I've heard nothing but great things about Blake and the way that he operates. He is a player's coach. I mean, that's usually what happens when a guy's that young, but he also has a very good idea, reportedly, of how to get guys to buy into a process and be fundamentally sound, something that the Nationals have not been able to do very well in the last couple of years. Even with what I believe was a great core haul they got from Soto, these guys haven't kind of meshed into a winning team yet, even though we've seen flashes of each guy be getting better and better and better. So I think this is a great move on their behalf, because a young guy comes in and can speak to the meshing. I think the talent's there, at least to be a competitive team. Are they going to go and win the East? No, but I do expect them to improve. And I expect some of these young guys that are part of that core, namely the CJ Abrams and the Mackenzie Gordon's gone now, but specifically James Wood. I think James Wood is going to take another step towards stardom. Yes, he did lead the league in swing and miss, but that is something that I expect to improve, and I think that Blake Butera is going to be a catalyst for helping him do that. So I expect improvement, though incrementally. I'm going to be patient with Blake, but I have high hopes because I love when they make moves for a guy this young. They're never more hungry to prove that they got the stuff than right now, which is the same for the next couple guys in these. Actually, all four of these guys are going to have a level of hunger for their experience and for proving that they can do this job, but it's going to be a different guy to guy. Next up, we're going to talk about Kurt Suzuki, who was my first major league catcher, and he is now about to manage an Angels team with some players on it that he actually played with, which is true for another guy on this list, Craig Stammen, who we're going to talk about in a second. Kurt Suzuki, though, in my experience with him, I know Kurt pretty well. He led me through my first, I don't know, like 50 scouting report sessions, trying to prepare for teams. And he's a very smart person and very to the point and he sees the big picture really well. And he also keeps things calm. He's a pretty calm guy. All things that are good for managing in the major leagues. One interesting thing, though, is he was signed to a one-year deal having never managed before. And usually that's not the case. You want to give a guy a chance to, I don't know, there's going to be mistakes made. There's going to be things he's got to get used to and figure out. Though I think they're banking on his major league experience, and it's also being so recent that he's well acquainted with how these things operate now, and they think he's going to pick it up quickly. Is this going to be something where the Angels kind of really turn it around, or is this a trial period? That's the thing. That's the big question for me. Do I think that Kurt has the chops to be a manager? Absolutely. Absolutely. Though, one other interesting part, he was never the most vocal guy. He was never the most sit guys down and flip a table if you need to guy. So it'd be interesting to see what he does there because they're the Angels. They're going to need that at some point this year. He's going to have to get buy-in. My assumption is he's making a good relationship with the veteran guys. Mike Trout's probably got to lead the flying V here. So if that's what he can pull out of him, having been teammates with him before, maybe that's what they need. They went old school with Ron Washington. That didn't seem to work. Go Kurt Suzuki. I got high hopes for that. And then next, we have this gentleman, Tony Vitello, who came from the Tennessee Vols, and he's never coached/managed in professional baseball. He's coming directly from college. He's the first ever manager to make this jump. Now, I've talked about this a lot. A pitching coach has done it before in Wes Johnson, did it with the Twins in 2019. I was on that team when that happened, and I'll never forget when we got that announcement, myself and some of the other bullpen members were like, college guy? College is different in that there's less games, it's very rah-rah. A lot of times it's very go get them guys, and Major League Baseball is just a little, you can't keep that kind of energy. And that's an initial concern that we had. We're like, what's this going to be like? And then we had a conversation with him, and that was not an issue. That was never going to be a problem. Wes Johnson was a stud, and he is a stud, and I think he would be very successful in the major leagues now had he just decided this is not where he wants to be. He wants to be closer to where he lives, and he wants to do college, and that's just more of his speed, and he enjoys that more. But he was a very good pitching coach, and I believe this guy is going to be a very good manager because he's going to bring a certain level of energy that no one else is going to be able to match. He is in his early 40s. He's got that vitality. I have a feeling he's going to have a pretty good relationship with a lot of the leaders on this team. A group on San Francisco Giants that have good leaders with Matt Chapman and Willie Adames, and guys who take that role very seriously. Leadership is not going to be their issue. Logan Webb, they have those guys in that clubhouse that they need. It's just about turning it into success out on the field, and I think he's got the chops to do it. Now, look, he's never done a spring training like this. Staying organized, keeping track of everybody, talking to the media, all this kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing I'm going to pay attention with him and see how he handles that, because the scrutiny is just, no matter how big of a college program you were the coach of, it's not even going to be close to what it's going to be in a major United States city. So I want to see how that happens. They've been about a 500 team for a while, but I trust Buster Posey, same draft class. He's been a big inspiration to me, so I think this guy's going to do a good job. But do they make the playoffs? We'll have to see. But I just want to see what the changes are. It's hard to predict what they will be because I'm not familiar with what they did in Tennessee. But everyone has glowing reviews, so I want to see what happens. And then our final guy we're going to talk about is the San Diego Padres' Craig Stammen. Yes, a relief pitcher is becoming a manager of a major league team. Not only that, he's also never managed at any level, but he has the body type of a refrigerator. I don't know why I said that. Something you notice about him, he's got the widest shoulders you've ever seen, and I got to respect that as a fellow wide-shouldered person. I've heard nothing but great things about Craig as a teammate. By all accounts, he's brilliant. He thinks so deeply about the game, and he loves talking about it and chatting about it. Sounds like a guy that I would love to sit out in a bullpen with. But what is really interesting is there's a bunch of guys on this team that Craig played with as he retired, I believe in 2022, the same as Kurt Suzuki. So they both played very recently. How do you get those guys, more than just a handful, to look at you like a manager and not just a bullpen guy? Because I'll be honest, bullpen guys were a little bit separate from the rest of the team most of the time. We're out literally in our own little area, way away from everybody, like all game. We're the only ones who don't get to communicate with everybody else. And something happens there where you're kind of seen as like a part of that group over there. So I am excited to see how that plays out, and also what kind of philosophical changes he's going to be making that are different than Schilt was there before. Because by all accounts, Mike Schilt's a very prepared person, and that is something that Greg Stammen is going to carry on. But what I want to see is a relief pitcher be successful as a manager, because we need more guys having those jobs. Because yes, we might be out there, we might be away from you, but we are also watching a whole bunch of baseball without actually playing, and that sometimes allows you to chew on some of these decisions without actually having to worry about playing yourself. So Greg Stammen, high hopes. I think of everyone we talked about, I think Craig Stammen is going to add the most wins to his team. Do you know why? Because I'm biased. That's why. And being biased is okay. All right, story number 2. The new New York Mets core. What do we got? Is it going to be chicken and waffles? Or is it going to be oil and water, right? We heard all offseason, and I just recently did a bonus video over in the Substack. You should check that out if you are interested, talking about the woes of the clubhouse and my experience with it. But there was reportedly some butting heads between Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor, 2 guys who are still there and the highest paid guys on the team. So is there a remedy there? I don't know. But we have had a lot of turnover on who are going to be the playmakers, the guys who need to produce for this team. They've added Freddie Peralta at the front end of the rotation, Jorge Polanco to fill in at first, Bo Bichette to play third, 2 guys that haven't played those positions very much. So let's see how the defense coalesces. There's going to have to be a lot of reps. Do these guys go get a bunch of reps early in spring, or are we waiting until the end? What are we doing? Because Bo Bichette did have the lower leg injury, and he played in the World Series. That's a short off season, so we'll see how that plays out. But they need to get reps, right? Marcus Semien takes over at second base every day with Francisco Lindor. I love that up the middle. I think those two guys are going to work really well together. They added Devin Williams, the back end of the bullpen, to help out. They added Luke Weaver, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and they added Louis Robert Jr. to take over center field, which is something they really needed too defensively. What is this group of guys going to do? Are they going to coalesce? Well, they're all new. They're all new to the machine that is the New York Mets, the New York media, if you will. Some guys like Weaver and Williams are used to it. All the other guys aren't, right? They're coming from smaller markets. They're coming from teams that weren't very good. So we'll see how quickly they buy into the program that the Mets are pushing forward. Now, I mentioned they lost Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, and their stud closer in Edwin Diaz, right? That was the core for a long time. They're truly shaking up the core, and it's on purpose. So we need to guess whether or not it's going to be better or going to be worse than last year. And if I were a betting man, I would bet that it will improve, because there's just less baggage in general. There's less, we really need to get this thing going because we're the core. These guys are new. There's going to be a learning curve to playing in that market. There just always is. But I think that this is going to be a net positive. Now, how much of a net positive? I mean, on paper, this team is incredible, right? Does paper ever really represent what actually happens? No. But I think there's a couple keys to that really turning into a big deal. One, Louis Robert getting a clean slate somewhere else could unlock him. We've seen what peak Louis Robert looks like. It's great. He's so good, he hit 2 homers off me. That's how good he is, right? So if they can get that version of him, instead of the one that's like, coming into the clubhouse by all accounts and Chicago for the last 3-4 years, it's just not been very fun. But what happens if you get a little more excitement? What happens if you like where you are a little bit more? What happens if you get cooking a little bit more? What version of him are we going to see? I think he's the X factor in this group because I think everyone else is going to provide the value in the way they can. I think Freddie Peralta staying healthy is going to be the same guy we always get. I think Jorge Polanco is going to be solid like he always is. I think that Bo Bichette is going to hit 300 if he's healthy all year. Like, these guys are going to do their thing. It's Robert, the guy that's had the very high highs and very low lows. So like, we'll see how much he can stay on the field and then what version we get. And he could potentially be one of the best players on the team if he is playing at his potential. But it's a wait and see game. I do like the moves. I think Stearns did a great job, and they're in a good place to improve on the disaster that was the end of the year last year. Story number 3. We have 2 new Japanese corner infielders that is Kazuma Okamoto and Munetaka Murakami. One of which went to the gentleman on the left, went to the White Sox. Sorry, that is the right. I don't know. We have Murakami going to the White Sox, and we have Okamoto going to the Blue Jays. My question is, which one of these guys provides more value for their team this year? As they are very similar in so many ways. They're known for their home run, their big boy pop, with Okamoto being the more of the grizzled veteran. He's been more consistent with the 20 to 30 home run seasons. He's been a bopper over there for years and years, while Murakami is a little younger. He's 26 years old, but he has the record for a Japanese-born player at 56 home runs in a season. So the peak is probably higher. He's younger, but they also have the same glaring issues. Okamoto is average at third base. He's probably a first baseman. Murakami, he's below average at third base. He's probably a first baseman, right? They both swing and miss quite a bit, but they are patient. They're patient, they take their walks, but they tend to get themselves behind in counts because they take a lot early in the count. They're very patient. So both guys kind of have that MO, okay? Interesting. So it's going to be how they adjust to big league pitching. Both have questions about how they're going to handle increased velocity, especially at the top of the zone. If you guys didn't know, Major League Baseball loves throwing 4 seams at the top of the zone in the high 90s. Which guy adjusts the quickest to that is I think, going to be the real question here. So, who do I think is going to have the biggest impact, and who do I think is going to adjust to the major leagues the easiest? Assuming both are healthy for the entire year, I think at least in 2026, the first year, as they are both on multi-year deals, the Blue Jays are going to get a little bit more out of Okamoto than the White Sox are going to get out of Murakami, simply because the team that he is going to is more complete. They went to the World Series. They already have stars. They have guys who are being paid more than him, and they have production in that lineup. Now, with the news about Anthony Santander that we're going to get into in a bit, that puts a little bit more on his shoulders, but he gets an opportunity to go transition into Major League Baseball a little bit more slowly or a little bit more behind the scenes than Murakami's going to have to, because he's going to immediately be one of the best players on the White Sox and probably the one with the most power outside of Montgomery. Montgomery probably has a little bit more pop than him, or they're high on them, but like, they're going to expect a lot out of him right out of the gate, and on a team that's probably still not going to be, they're going to be better, but they're not going to be good per se. I don't think they're not going to compete yet. Sometimes that you can put too much pressure on yourself to get into it quicker and figure things out, and he might really struggle to make those adjustments on hitting those fastballs top of the zone quickly because he's pressing. And so because Murakami might be incentivized to press a little bit more than Okamoto, that is my guess. I think Okamoto is going to be better at the beginning, but I think long term, the ceiling, the nod goes to Murakami. So it's going to be fun. I love how many Japanese players coming over. I love that they're going on to different teams. We have Amai over on Houston as well, so that Japanese market gets to watch more different baseball, and they get acquainted with more players that are already on those teams. I think that's awesome. So this is going to be a fun one to watch. Number 4, Connor Griffin, the unanimous number 1 prospect in baseball. The 19-year-old shortstop that was drafted 9th overall in, I believe, the 2023 draft, is a stud. This guy is ridiculous, and I want to see what he looks like in a big league spring training against big league pitching. Like everyone's so high on him already that we're getting reports telling us when he's going to face Paul Skeens in the Pirates spring training. And as we very much know, the Pirates are a team that desperately need a stud with a bat and in the field. And he is a five-tool player across the board, shortstop, 6'5". If you want to get really into the nitty-gritty and see some behind-the-scenes stuff of his program, you can check out Dan Sarmiento's YouTube channel, Desarm. They did a video, Day in the Life with Connor Griffin this last winter, where he like warmed up by just two-hand dunking, which is insane. The guy's a shortstop, and he runs like a deer. Just statistically, he hit 333, triple slash 333, 415 at 527 last year across 3 levels. And he had a 21-game cup of coffee, double A Altoona, posting 337, 418, 542 with a ridiculous 175 weighted runs created plus. The guy breaks, and he's a freak athlete. I want to see how quickly he gets to the major leagues. A lot of the reporting out there says that it will be sooner rather than later. I hope so, and I hope this isn't a rush situation. I hope we don't get an Angel situation where we're like, you're our stud, get in there so that people come to the games. I hope it's because he's actually ready to go. And it's not just his skill. There's been people talking very highly about his training and how hard he works. This is coming from their newly acquired outfielder, Jake Mangum, who they got from Tampa Bay this winter as well. His greatest assets is how hard he works. Here's a quote. I appreciate the fact that Connor works like he's not any good. He works his tail off, but when you watch him, and he's a freak talent. There's nothing he does that doesn't just wow you. Lifting, jumping, throwing, swinging, whatever he does, you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy's a freak. He's better than me at everything. Now that part I added, because I'm just assuming. But I want to see it. These type of guys don't come along that often, to be that young and be that polished. Especially for a team that desperately needs it, and seems like they're kind of going for it as they signed Marcell Ozuna, like kind of going for it, and that they're going to improve. Like they know that all they need to do is win like 10 more games. They might squeak in. They could be the Reds this year. Like you just got to get in there. Now there's a part of me that's like, I mean, I don't super want Bob Nutting to like be like, see guys, we don't have to spend money. We can like, but I do want the fans to get some winning. So like there's a weird discord going on in my head. But Connor Griffin seems like the real deal, and I want to see it happen. It's not so often that a guy my size gets to go play third base or shortstop and just be amazing. I like to think that I don't know. I want to live vicariously through him. All right, and the last story that I am very much looking forward to, and there's a few questions I have about it. The ABS system is here. A new rule change is happening where you can challenge the pitch, whether it's the catcher does it on behalf of the pitcher or the hitter does it on behalf of themselves. Now, this seems great. Let's get the calls right. This is what people want, right? Everyone wanted possibly getting robot umps. This is partial robot umps. I think this is great for a few reasons because it adds new strategy to the game. You only have so many challenges. You got to be smart about how you use them. You got to give people the green light to use them whenever they want, the guys you trust. Then you got to be like, young guys, stop doing that. You suck at this, and figuring out who's good and who isn't is going to be a thing that teams got to figure out in spring training. Also, I want to see what umpires are truly the best and who aren't either. And there's a lot of I think things that can get fixed here, but there's also space for things to get called incorrectly, which is the human error element, which needs to exist in sports. Like we need to preserve a little bit of that where we try to get as many plays right as possible. It's kind of like replay not covering every single thing. There's some things that aren't replay reviewable. That is so that there still can be a little bit of error. And that just is more interesting. I don't know what else to tell you. So here's some of the questions that I want to pay attention to, and we're going to be able to get a lot of this information in spring training. If you remember last year, Terry Francona, as he joined with the Reds when they were testing it, was like, guys, you don't do it. We're not going to use this year. Because his team was so young, he's like, we're not going to make this a whole thing. Who cares? But now, you got to get good at it. So who is getting the green light to use it? Who isn't? How are teams kind of like figuring out how they're going to use this in the future? And how are those strategies going to vary? That is going to be super interesting to me, especially if there's young guys who get green lights and how good they are at it. This is something that like Joe Mauer would have been amazing at. and this would have enhanced his value even more. Like, it would have been even harder to get him out. So I'm looking forward to that. I want to know what kind of stats we're going to get from it. Like, are we going to get to see the percentage of things done right? What umpires have the most challenges against them, and how do they come out? What catchers get the most right or don't? What hitters get the most right or don't? Like, I hope this is something going to be recorded. I probably should text Mike Petriello from StatCast to see if this is going to be something they do. But I can't wait to see, because I think I'm going to have a blast blasting them for not doing it well or doing it well. I'm fascinated by how this is going to be implemented and how it's going to be used in order to produce runs or reduce runs. And what, like, pitcher-catcher pairs are going to trust their catcher. What pitchers are just going to do it right? Chris Bassett's going to be out here doing this all day. But, like, you know, what is Cat Raleigh going to do it a ton? Who's going to be the best catcher at it? My guess, Patrick Bailey. I know, that's an easy one. And then, how is it going to affect games throughout the year? What big moments are going to play out? Because we've talked a lot about guys on second to start the inning. Like, how much is that going to affect it? How much was, when replay first came, like, how much is replay really going to affect big games? I have a feeling this is going to affect big games. There's going to be inflection points throughout a game. And if you can get one more pitch in an at-bat or extended inning, one little bit, it's going to have ripple effects. And that's the thing I think is most interesting. I want to see what that happens. And then what conversations are going to come from that I can compete in, or participate in. That's also what I want to see. And then the last thing is, how is this system going to change perception of umpires? Because baseball fans love to hate umpires. Now, a lot of the decisions are going to be taken out of their hands, or at least getting them fixed. So, are we going to start to, use these guys got challenged and overturned more than anybody else? We're going to start using that against them. My guess is yes, but I can't wait to see how that all plays out too. I think it's not going to affect the length of the game. I think it's a good thing. I think this is generally a good thing. It adds a new mechanic. It's almost like we got an update to a video game. That's my nerd metaphor for you for the day. So that is the 5th story of the 5 stories that I think you should be paying attention to, because they're interesting. All right. Before we move into some news, let's hear from the boys.
Hey, sometimes we do a little game on Foul Territory called role play. It's not what you think. We're just picking up our phones and we're talking as if we're somebody in baseball. But if you'd like that phone to be a little bit cheaper for making phone calls, who should you call, Kratz?
Mint Mobile, because you get all the same speed with a tiny little price.
Same coverage, tiny price. Ready to stop paying more than you have to? New customers can make the switch today, and for a limited time, get unlimited premium wireless for just $15 per month. Switch now at mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Save money. Get after it, FT fam.
Quit overspending on wireless with 50% off the unlimited premium wireless. Plans start at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That is mintmobile.com/territory. All right, let's do some housekeeping, move on to the news. I mentioned this already. We have a Substack. Thank you to everyone who has recently subscribed to the Substack for the $5 a month premium supporter edition. I am doing 2 or more bonus videos a month. We are currently working on doing a couple interview series and bringing in some outside experience to talk a little bit about pitching development. I have another one I'm working on that's more of a secret. So I would love to see you guys over there. Also, if you don't care about the bonus videos, you can get the newsletter and all of our editorial stuff for free. It is up there. It is imtrevormay.com. Check it out or use the QR code. And also, if you don't want to miss any of the videos, or you missed this long form show and you just want to catch all the highlights, more_Mayday, it's at more_Mayday, is the second YouTube channel, is where we're putting all those things. It's got tons and tons and tons of content. We're also I'm coming up with some explainers and stuff, some other fun little segments that are also going to live over there as well. So go check out that. If you don't subscribe to it already, you will get everything if you're subscribed to that and Trevor May Baseball, my main channel. Thank you so much for that. Let's get into the news. Alrighty. So much news, so little time. We've had trades, we've had moves, we've had injuries. We're gonna talk. There's something going on that I think you all need to know. So let's get right into it. The Red Sox, in quite the savvy move that I really think is great, pick up third baseman Caleb Durbin to finally fill that third base hole. They didn't know who was going to play there, and now they do after missing Alex Bregman. Sorry for opening that wound again. I didn't mean to. In a 6-player trade on Monday, they sent left-hander Kyle Harrison back to the Brewers. That is from the Red Sox to the Brewers, obviously. Boston acquired infielder Andrew Monasterio, utility man Anthony Siegler, and a competitive balance round B pick, the 67th overall pick, while sending infielder David Hamilton and left-hander Shane Drohan to Milwaukee. So I'll let you guys go connect the dots with the yarn on that one. The 5'7", 25-year-old Durbin finished third in the National League Rookie of the Year voting last year. Great bat-to-ball skills, was very integral for the success of the Brewers last year. Across the board, that team was great at putting the bat on the ball, making plays happen, taking the extra base, playing fundamental baseball, and then having a bunch of pitchers who throw 100. Like, that is how you win the most games in the National League, or actually in the major leagues in general. And he was a big part of it. And I think that, he's a 10-homer guy, probably not the most pop in the world, and probably won't be a huge home run, power bat, but he can play all the infield positions, which they have a lot of those guys over in Boston. So they're going to get creative there. He's top 3% in the league percentile-wise in whiff rate and strikeout rate. Like, he just doesn't strike out. He's going to put good ABs together, and maybe that home run number goes from 11 to 15 or 17 with that monster in left field. I like it. He's a quality player, can steal bags, 18 bags, just going to make a team that he is on better. Justin Verlander, still doing it as he turns 43 this year. He just reunited with the Tigers on a 1-year, $13 million contract, still getting paid. Love to see it. Now you guys might remember the 3-time Cy Young Award winner. Actually, he's not 43 yet. He turns 43 in 9 days. So happy birthday in advance, Justin, if we forget next week. He joins the Tigers rotation that has, just between the 3 of those guys, that's 5 Cy Youngs, so that's pretty solid. Even though he started 0-8 in his first 16 starts last year, he gave up 9 earned runs over 41 and a third inning in his last 7. So he brought his ERA under 4, a solid showing. He's going to another park that is more on the pitcher-friendly side, and he gets to slot right in to a pretty good, solid rotation. And as we know, the Tigers lost Reese Olson as well, so there's a spot open. I think it was a savvy move. The guy wants to keep going. Let him keep going. He's not going to hurt you. This is a win-win situation for the Tigers and for Justin Verlander. I love it. The Rockies are continuing to go for it. They signed Jose Quintana and Tamayuki Sagano to 1-year deals. Interesting signing for those two guys, as they are both sinker ballers. They're both command guys, and they do not strike out a ton of guys, something you kind of need to do in Colorado, so it's interesting, but they are experienced. Quintana went 11-7 with a 3.96 ERA and 24 starts last year. They're 37 and 36-year-old. These are depth pieces. They're layering them in. Sagano went 10-10 with a 4.6 and 30 starts with Baltimore. So they'll join Kyle Freeland and Michael Lorenzen, two-way player Michael Lorenzen, hopefully. We'll see if it improves their team, or we'll see if it's just kind of there. Worst case scenario, I think that Quintana is serviceable, or Sagano is serviceable, and they can be moved at the deadline for some young prospects. I think that's kind of where Colorado is at this point. Another signing, Marcell Ozuna signs a 1-year, $12 million deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates, which will add a little bit more thump to that lineup. He played exclusively as DH last season. He had 21 homers, finished with a 756 OPS, even though he had a 925 in 2024, which unfortunately makes it pretty unlikely that Andrew McCutchen is going to become a Pittsburgh Pirate to finish his career, which is a little bit frustrating, I think, for him, as he has been public about that. But here's what Pirates GM Ben Cherington had to say on McCutchen. He said, the Pirates will never completely shut the door on Andrew McCutchen. That's just how we feel about him. It's not going to happen. That's a whole lot of nothing for me. I think that there's a little bit of lack of communication. I think that you guys can say, hey, if you're going to come back, it needs to be in a ceremonial capacity, and we got to move on. That's just the way it's going to be, so on and so forth. Or maybe you can do the Sergio Romo sign for a day, just sign for opening day, and then move on from whatever it needs to be. Hopefully I hope that gets resolved, and I hope McCutchen gets the due that he is deserved, because the man is a Pittsburgh legend and will be a Pittsburgh Hall of Famer, so you got to treat him with respect, and he has only been respectful to everyone else. I think he deserves it in return. All right, now, I don't want to get too emotional here, but this next case is something that just makes me so angry. It's unconscionable. I can't believe it happened. So I may need to take a moment. It was reported that new Mets reliever Luke Weaver spent the last 3 seasons with the Yankees, arrived to Port St. Lucie with his old Yankees bag. I need a minute. Just give me 1 minute. Luke! How could you, Luke?
Hey, sometimes we do a little game.
Sorry about that. I'm okay. I can do this. The move that seemed to upset some fans and media personalities, including popular NYC radio host Keith McPherson and Michael Kay. Weaver addressed the incident in the New York Post, John Heyman, and Joel Sherman on the show podcast. All right, here's the quote from Luke Weaver. I thought it was a bit silly. Personally, I understand why people are, I wouldn't say an uproar, but why they're talking about it. I get it. To your point, it's very common to bring your old bag to your new team. They don't like first-class airmail a new bag, so I didn't get a new bag from the Mets, like a duffel bag. Just personally don't have, besides grocery bags or something, I just don't have anything to put my stuff in. Yeah, it's completely normal. That is exactly what everyone does. You get there the first day with all your crap in your bag that you didn't transfer into another bag, and then you get a new bag immediately. Don't worry. KK's got it, dude. Kevin Kears. He's got him hooked up with a bag immediately. Holy crap, who cares? But you know what? We got to react to everything, every little tiny little thing about what bag and how it's a bad look. Who cares? It's a bag. It's just a bag. His crap was in a bag. Why do we need him to move his crap to another bag? He's just going to take all his crap out of the bag and put it into his Mets locker, and then he's going to have a Mets bag, and then whenever he goes after this, he's going to take a Mets bag to wherever. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I understand that we need to get content, but just some things are just too dumb. And now here I am talking about it. But I wanted to use my new wide angle cam, so maybe that's what that was for. Anyway, let me know what you think, guys. Is this outrageous? They should release him. I don't think there's any other thing to do. Anyways, moving hither. Speaking about the Mets, Francisco Lindor, as we have had a bunch of injury news, which I'm going to quickly hit as we move through here. Francisco Lindor will be evaluated for a stress reaction in his left hamate bone, a little bone right in between your thumb and your index finger. It is not necessary. It is an evolutionary redundancy, and it's just annoying for hitters because sometimes you just get a bone chip, it snaps off. Evidently, he's getting stress reactions, so where it's starting to come off, it's not quite there yet. But he could need surgery. They might just take care of it, because if you take care of it, it's a quick turnaround. He could be ready for spring training if he just does it. Or be ready for opening day if he just does it. But we'll see what he does. The hand surgery requires 6-week recovery. But Stearns emphasized he's optimistic Lindor will be ready for opening day on March 26th if he undergoes the procedure. Exactly. So it's 2 weeks down, you start doing baseball activities, yeah. And will he be sharp out of the gate? probably not. And I'll be honest, Francisco will probably be the first one to tell you, he's not usually the sharpest in April anyways. So if you got to do it, you got to do it. Sometimes you just got to get rid of it, and then it's never a problem again. It's one of those things where you just like, you go, it's their Tommy John. It just happens to not be 12 months long. It's 6 weeks long. So it is what it is, but sometimes that happens. Corbin Carroll is going to have surgery, and he will miss the World Baseball Classic. He also suffered a broken right hamate bone during live batting practice session on Tuesday, the first day of hitting, which stinks, and he will miss a lot of spring training. However, he will probably also be ready for opening day or very close to it. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see him on the WBC team that was very, very stacked and was looking incredible with him on it. They're still very good, but Corbin Carroll also seems to have lost his hamate bone. Another injury, by the way, we have a picture of him. That's Corbin Carroll right there. And then we have Anthony Santander. It has now been announced that we're expecting to miss him for 5 to 6 months. Toronto Blue Jays outfielder Anthony Santander is undergoing surgery today to repair a labrum in his left shoulder. And is expected to be sidelined for 5 to 6 months. Labrums are no laughing matter. Last year was a little bit of a sunk year. We're having another sunk year. He's on a 5-year, $92.5 million contract free agency last year. And it's not looking great. He hit just 175 with 6 home runs last year. Did not play in the LCS. Has back issues. By all accounts, this is separate than those back issues. So, man, that's a huge blow for the Toronto Blue Jays and their fans because he was a big question mark on what he was going to provide this year. And then we have Spencer Schwellenbach's going to enter spring training on the 60-day IL with an elbow, inflammation in his pitching elbow. It's his first-year manager, Walt Weiss, said that he avoided serious injury in the UCL, so it's not Tommy John, but they're gonna take it very slow. It seems like it was probably pretty significant. He was 7-4 with a 3 last year. He has become one of the best pitchers on that staff, and for a team that was trying to bounce back hard after a tough 2025 season, not having Spencer Schwellenbach ready for opening day, which he won't be, is a big blow. But you're probably wondering, why are there so many injuries right now? Well, what happened? Remember, when we report to spring training, you usually get a torrent of these things in the first few days because if you have something bothering you at home, or even you've already reported and you're working on it, everyone who feels anything and anywhere has their finger crossed, be like, please feel better for spring training. And then you just push off telling everybody until you report. There's no reason to announce anything before you report because you want to give yourself the most time to heal, right? So that's why this happens. You report, reporters go, how's everybody doing? What are you doing? And they're like, well, we have to make roster moves, and here's all the injuries. And then everyone at home is like, oh God, because it's all happening at once. These things were all happening behind the scenes. Like, for example, the Lindor thing has probably been bothering him for a while now. The Spencer Schwellenbach thing, especially with inflammation, it's not like it just happened 6 months ago and they're like, all right, we're gonna wait till spring. It's probably, he was just like, please, please, please. And then went in and was like, I can't throw. And then they're like, okay, it's time to go now. So it's normal. It doesn't mean there's an apocalypse coming, but that is why injuries seem to all come at once at the beginning of spring training, is because that's the first time where they feel compelled to fill in the media about it all, because why would they tell you beforehand? There's no point, especially if the guy heals. And that is the news on the injuries and the unconscionable etiquette breach by Luke Weaver. Before we move into our final story, our main story of the day, I want to hit you with one more word from our beautiful, beautiful co-host over at Foul Territory.
AJ, you know what I love about HelloFresh? The variety. Every single week, I can choose from over 100 recipes. That's a lot of recipes.
Agreed. You can go and you can narrow it down, Scott, to whatever you want. Family friendly, because I got kids sometimes that need to eat, so you can go family friendly, pescatarian, vegetarian, whatever you want to do, healthy options, however you want to refine your search on HelloFresh. They will spit out delicious, healthy ingredients that then you get to cook, which I love to cook. I keep saying it. I love to cook. I love to chop up the ingredients and make beautiful dishes.
There's delicious steak and seafood plus 3 times more seafood options at no extra cost. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free Zwilling knife, a $144.99 value on your third box. Offer valid while supplies last. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's FT10FM.
Get 10 free meals and a free Zwilling knife. Hold on, I got to do this differently. There you go. Get 10 free meals and a freeze-willing knife, a $145 value on your third box at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Offer valid while supplies last. Free meals applied at discount on first box only. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. Thank you guys so much. HelloFresh. All right. In our main story of the day, let's talk about the World Baseball Classic. We'll add that in post. Today, I want to talk about some news that's happened. We're going to talk about, I'm going to do some power rankings, some of my favorite names in the tournament, and then we will end with some bold predictions on how I think this whole thing's going to play out. What's it based on? Very little, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it regardless. Let's get right into it. All right. First part, Puerto Rico has been devastated by the insurance issue that a lot of these WBC players are having. If you aren't familiar, there is an insurance plan that is taken out on players' contracts just in case they get hurt during the WBC. Many players just happen to be in Puerto Rico are not going to be covered because of their extensive injury history in the past. Jose Altuve was one for Venezuela. We got Carlos Correa. We got Francisco Lindor with Puerto Rico. We also have Jose Barrios just not playing. We got Victor Caratini not playing. And then we have Avi Baez has been suspended for marijuana smoking in 2023, which is interesting considering that weed has been legal in the major leagues for a very long time, and it's fairly common. And so the fact that he's the only one who's gotten in trouble for it is kind of interesting. I don't know how the drug testing works, but they tried to kind of ease off on it and be like, I mean, that was last time. Like, what about? It's been some years. Like, is that big of a deal? But he's not going to get to play anyways, which is this is kind of the last hurrah for that core of Puerto Rican players. They're all going to be in their mid to late 30s next time, so we'll see who plays and who doesn't, who's where we're at talent-wise. And I was looking forward to seeing them, but they are a greatly diminished lineup and team without those guys, arguably all kind of middle of the order type of guys. So it sucks, but it is what it is, and that's going to hurt them moving forward. One interesting thing that I'm just going to hit you quickly with a list because I was looking at the rosters for all these WBC teams, and I was blown away how many guys I'd played with and not in the big leagues. So I have played on the same team with 19 of the 20. One of them is a special case. But there's 20 guys who I've been on their team. And that's kind of crazy considering I'm almost 37 years old and there's that many guys still playing in this thing. So I'm quickly going to run through them and then let you guys notice these guys when you're watching the tournament. From Australia, I played with Tim Kennelly in the Phillies minors, 2012 in AA. At that time, he's a third baseman. They turned him into a pitcher, and now he's listed as an outfielder. I don't know what's going on, but he's got a good arm. Todd Van Steensel, I was in the minors with him in the Phillies and the Twins. He followed me, and then he went back to the Phillies. So Todd Van Steensel also pitching for Australia. James Paxton, I threw with him in the offseason. Rob, I could never say his name, so I'm going to say it. Is this Strinsky? I cannot remember. Sorry, Rob. I know you're watching the show. My bad. But, I'm just never going to learn how to say it. You're the one guy who I refuse to learn how to say your name. I was with him in spring training with the Mets. Philippe Almont, I was in the Phillies minors with him. Team Canada. Reynaldo Rodriguez, Twins minors. One of the best snap hook swings in the league. Just watch how many foul balls he pulls. Michael Lorenzen, Arizona Fall League. Adam Ottavino with the Mets. Vance Worley with the Twins. Taijuan Walker with the Mets. Mark Vientos with the Mets. JC Ramirez with the Phillies in the minors. Team Nicaragua. Eddie Rosario with the Twins. Edwin Diaz with the Mets. Rico Garcia with the A's. And Seth Lugo with the Mets. All guys that I played with, which I feel like that's a large amount, especially with guys like Philippe Almont, who's close to 40 years old playing for Team Canada, which, hey, hats off to you guys. That is amazing. Oh, that's actually not everybody. Byron Buxton with the Twins, Griffin Jackson with the Twins, Mason Miller with the A's, and Luis Arias with the Twins. All those guys I played with. I just thought that was interesting. But let's get right into the names because here's my favorite names in this tournament. There's some good ones. There's some great ones. I'm going to do my best to pronounce these the best I can. But these are my top 11 names in the WBC this year. And I'll explain why I think they're interesting as I go, okay? Because some of them aren't going to make sense unless I do that. Number one, Stuart Fairchild. Why? Why is Stuart Fairchild an interesting name? It is because he's playing on the Chinese Taipei team. And his name stands out. There's a lot of repeat prefixes and names. That's how Chinese works a lot. And Stuart Fairchild is not a Chinese name, so you can notice it. You can notice it on the roster, but I think it's awesome that he's going to get to play with them and that they qualified. And I can't wait to see what he does. Another guy, I believe Team Columbia. He's one of my, it's one of my favorite names I've ever played against, so I always put him on any list I can with names. It's Chesler Cuthbert. Chesler Cuthbert, that is Kansas City Royals legend, Chesler Cuthbert. Big fan. Oh, sorry, he's on Team Nicaragua as well, not Colombia. My bad, my mistake. Then we have Martin Music. Enough said. That's a sick name. I believe he was played in last time. He is the captain, and we're all pulling for Czech, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Let's go check. We have Enzo Hayashida, which is a Brazilian gentleman. Just a sick name. I don't know. I just feel like leather jacket. You know what I mean? Leather jacket. Like he should be wearing a leather jacket. I think that's cool. Another guy I played against that I always enjoy his name, and this is a special request from the producers, Chadwick Tromp. Braves legend, Chadwick Tromp. Love that name too. Chadwick. I got to have another son, so I have an opportunity. You know what I mean? Then we have Yapson Gomez. Yapson, pretty good. Like that. Also, love the glove. I like his just general vibe. Looking forward to watching him throw cheese because I believe he throws pretty hard. Then we have Jamdrick Cornelia. Gotta admit, it's pretty unique. A lot of these guys are also like minor leaguers, career minor leaguers. They're playing for, he is from Curacao, I believe. So he is on the Netherlands with Cedane Rafaela, Bogarts, Jurickson Profar. So cool name, cool team. I'm high on the Netherlands too. So, okay, now we're gonna get the hard to pronounce ones. These are the top 4. Okay, there is Odonier Mosqueda. Odonier Mosqueda. Yes. And also, phenomenal celebration for Team Venezuela. We're testing me here. And then third best, we have Arispel Barbaro. Arispel Arruabarrena. Arispel Barbaro Arruabarrena. As you can see, they don't have much room on the back of that jersey. But I'm going to watch Team Cuba because I want to see what this guy does. Barely could fit the name on there. Just really rolls off the tongue once you get it. And then my top 2 favorite names. We have Guoc Bin. This is Guoc Bin. He is Chinese Taipei. And notice I'm saying it backwards. In the United States, we say the last name second. In China or Chinese Taipei, they say the last name first. So it is Guoc Bin. B-I-N Bin, which, come on, man. Quick to the point. And then the final one, a gentleman who took his indigenous name, excuse me, for Chinese Taipei. By the way, that is not Chinese Taipei. The next one is. This is South Korea. That's a South Korean name. The next one is Chinese Taipei, and it is an indigenous name, a Paiwan indigenous name. Whew. Here we go. Again, last name goes first. It is Giligilao Gangwan. Giligilao Gangwan. Giligilao. Crushed it. Please tell me I said it right. Please tell me I said it right. That is a sick name. He is a minor leaguer, I believe, with the in the Guardians organization, and I freaking love it. I love that name so much. I put the whole thing on the back. Sick. Those are my favorite names. That's the best one by far, though. Chinese Taipei coming in big. There was a bunch on here. So, my name's Trevor May. That's boring as hell. These are cool. These are cool names. Okay, let's get into the predictions really quick, rapid fire. But first, I'm going to give you my power rankings for the best teams in the WBC moving forward. All right, here's my top 5 with honorable mentions. Honorable mentions. Let's start with the 3 honorable mentions and why I think that they are should be mentioned. We have Team Korea in the honorable mentions, as they are always quality. They all play together, and they've always played together, and they always play really good fundamental baseball, and they find ways to win the game. They're not too proud. It's just not strikeout left, right, and center. Every guy will bunt if they have to. I love to watch it. I love the Korean brand of baseball, and they're always competitive no matter how good they are talent-wise. So they are going to be around. But again, it's the level of their pro league just isn't quite at the level of Japan and the United States, and arguably in Latin America as well at times. So we're gonna have them as our honorable mention. Next up, we have the Netherlands, who is always in danger. Now, they're usually a little bit softer on the pitching side, but they have Cedane Rafaela, Xander Bogaerts, Ozzy Albies, and Jurickson Profar in the middle of that lineup. That is a quality lineup that if they're dialed in, they can score some runs. We'll have to wait and see what they get pitching-wise, and that is usually the problem when they run into teams with the firepower in the lineups, which 2 of the teams in this ranking list have actually 3 of the lineups here are pretty incredible. We'll talk about them in a moment. And then we have Canada. Canada's always around. They're quality. They have some big league starting pitching, some guys with some experience, right? They got James Paxton's going to be playing for them. Cal Quantrill, Mike Soroka, Jameson Taillon. Maybe no aces there, but quality pitchers who know how to get big leaguers out. Again, we're just a couple good starts away. You only need an upset maybe in the pool play to move on. The top 2 of each pool moves on, so they can sneak in. And I think there's a good chance, though they are missing this gentleman, Freddie Freeman, but they do have in their lineup Tyler O'Neill, Matt Davidson, Bopper Matt Davidson, Edouard Julien, the Naylor brothers, both Bo and Josh are playing. It's a quality team. It's solid. But they did not make the top 5. In number 5 in my power rankings, we have Mexico, Team Mexico, with a solid lineup. They got Jaron Duran, Alejandro Kirk, Randy Arozarena, and Jonathan Aranda to anchor that lineup. Jonathan Aranda has blossomed into a good player, a very good major leaguer, an all-star. They got some big league starting experience similar to Canada with Jose Urquidy, Taijuan Walker. And then they got Victor Vodnik and Andres Munoz in the back end of the bullpen. So again, completely within the realm of possibility. Yes, some things need to fall in their direction, and they're going to take advantage of a slightly weaker pool, I think. But I'll give them my ranking number 5. Then number 4, well, we got to give that to Venezuela because of the quality lineup. Probably the 3rd best lineup, but not the best pitching side, or at least the most recognizable pitching side, and that's where I think they fall off a little bit. But imagine this lineup: Luis Arias DHing, Ronald Acuna Jr. in right field, Jackson Churio batting 3rd and center, Wilson Contreras, Salvador Perez, Michael Garcia, Wilyer Abreu, Gleyber Torres, and Ezequiel Tovar rounding it out shortstop. That's a pretty good lineup right there, playa. I'd take that about just against anybody. That's pretty solid. They're going to score some runs. They could score a lot of runs. It's just going to come down to who they run into, what type of starting pitching they have to face, and if they're able to get a lead early or not. But they're going to have to outscore teams probably because the weaker side of the pitching. Number 3 team, your Dominican Republic. And this lineup, if you thought Venezuela was good, let's talk about this lineup right here. Possible best lineup that they could have. This is crazy. Geraldo Perdomo, batting 1st. Julio Rodriguez, Juan Soto, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Junior Caminero, Ketel Marte, and Austin Wells anchoring at at catching. They got Christopher Sanchez, who can start any game. They get Sandy Alcantara is looking to bounce back. That's a couple good starting pitchers. And then the back end of the pen is Abner Uribe, Anthony Dominguez, Camilo Duvall, and Carlos Estevez. That's a whole bunch of cheese. Now, they got to be dialed in. Like, people can struggle. Camilo Duvall, end of the year, he's struggling a little bit. So Anthony Dominguez was pretty good, really good, pretty good. Not necessarily maybe a closer, but solid. So we'll see how they're doing. But man, that's a good lineup, and they can bop. Let's just see what the chemistry's like. Number 2, we got Japan. They got Shohei Ohtani and a bunch of big leaguers and a bunch of more guys who are coming over to the major leagues. The team's very similar to what it was last time, with the exception of a couple guys. Yamamoto, Kikuchi at the front end of the rotation. They play really solid baseball. They all know each other, played each other for a long time, and they got Bop and they got Shohei. You just can't say you can't really count them out. You're going to give them the 2, but the United States of America is my number 1. It's got to be my number 1 because, 1, got to go for them, but wow. this is a potential lineup. This lineup would be crazy without, but it's not gonna have Corbin Carroll now. But let's just imagine Corbin was still healthy. Bobby Witt Jr., Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Byron Buxton, Corbin Carroll, Alex Bregman, Gunnar Henderson. What? That is nutty. That's a nuts lineup. But it's been thrown out there that Stephen Kwan could join, Riley Green could join to take the spot of Corbin Carroll. All things that I think they could fill in really nicely. Kyle Stowers maybe, Wyatt Langford, James Wood even. All guys I would love to see. Tyler Soderstrom. We'll see which one ends up going, but they're going to have more depth. It's going to be great. Bullpen solid with Bednar, Miller, Jackson, Whitlock in the back end with Spire and Keller probably getting mixed in the middle there. And then they got Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal, Joe Ryan, Logan Webb, and Nolan McLean as the starters. And if you got to eat innings, we got Clay Kershaw waiting in the wings, man. Here we go. Let's go, America. So I have them as your number one team. All right. And let's predict how this thing's going to go, and we're going to fire it out there as quickly as we can. Here's my predictions in pool play. As you can see, Pool A, Pool B, Pool C, and Pool D. Top two teams from each pool move on, and then they match up in the quarterfinals, go to the semifinals, and the championship. Here is my predictions as follows. Ready, and let's go. In the pool plays, moving on, we have Cuba and Canada from Pool A, USA and Mexico from Pool B, Japan and Korea from Pool C, and Dominican Republic, Venezuela. Cuba and Canada move on from A. I think Puerto Rico is going to be hamstrung a little bit too much from losing a lot of their stars, but very easily they could replace either one of those guys. I think Pool A is just kind of open, frankly. But let's assume Cuba and Canada. Then, going to the quarterfinals, I have United States over Canada, 8-3, Mexico over Cuba, 3-2. Dominican Republic beats Korea 9-7, and Japan beats Venezuela 3-1. Then we go to the semis. The USA takes down Mexico 5-2. Dominican Republic takes down Japan 7-6 with that ridiculous lineup. And in the finals, we have the United States for the Dominican Republic, and we have the US taking it down 4-3 over the Dominican Republic in the finals. Because why? I'm biased. All right, those are my predictions based on very little. Sometimes you just got to throw them out. Sometimes you just got to pull a trigger and put it out in the universe so that maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Let me know down in the comments. Let me know in the chat. What do you guys think? Completely based? Am I on top of it? Or am I just wrong like usual? There's only one thing we can do, and that's wait and see. That concludes today's episode of Mayday here on Foul Territory and over on Twitch. I'm host Trevor May. Thank you guys for being here, for hanging out. I appreciate it as always. It is so good to see you every week. We are going to be back on Friday over on my channel, Trevor May Baseball, for some more fun stories, very similarly we did here, but that is where we talk with chat. I want your guys' input a lot more. And if you ever want to ask questions, maybe for the show, or get into some topic, or want me to make a video even, you can go into my Discord channel, !Discord if you are in the chat, and you can ask a question and questions for Trevor. I would really appreciate it. I always read those things. Those are awesome. Thank you guys, everyone, for participating in that. As we get out of here, I just want to thank producers David Korn and Henry Neiman, editors David Foley, Aaron Diemet, and Emily Sharbaugh for making all this possible and getting everything where it needs to go. And as always, don't forget to slow down, have a drink of water, and let's enjoy some baseball, because it's baseball season. I'll see you next time on Mayday. That is Friday at noon over on my channel. All right, guys, have a great one. See you later. Bye-bye.